All right, good morning, people. Bob here, back once again, ready to talk some Bitcoin. Let's get right down to it. So let's just start here. We're back inside of this trend line here, which would not be an ideal scenario to be in, because that then means that this breakout was invalid and that the actual pattern has a much higher likelihood of playing out, which prior to this breakout, you would have said that this was likely a bear pennant. So you make the assumption at this point that it is going to lose this trend line here, and then the measured move would be down here in this like 16,000 range, a little bit above it. Obviously, we talk about it all the time. It's never a given that what you see is going to happen. We talked about this before, the rising broadening wedge on the RSI here, where we had the this sideways action for a while, and then we talked about the fact that we were already shaping up into something similar right here. Now the question is, though, does it continue this downward trend, break through this trend line here, and just keep rolling back over? That's the only way it gets down here. But it's just as feasible that it does find some support in here. Now it is below the 40 level at the moment, which means it's back into the bear control. So I don't think that it's necessarily a given that it comes back up here. In fact, I expect that more likely it would tap up here and then start to move down again. So right now we are probably at least potentially seeing something that looks like it might be a high for the day. Although I think there's still an outside chance that, and I'll show you on my shorter term time frame charts, I think there's an outside chance that this thing could pop up a little higher today. Do I think that it gets all the way up to the 21 again to retest that? I don't know. I think it's much more likely to cap out at like this 20,200 level if it even goes up that high at all. Now, the fact that it touched this trend line and is bouncing is a sign. It's a good sign, which means that this trend line is not totally done yet. But again, we're down back here. We're inside of this trend line here, and that's not really where we wanted to be. And then in addition, I was kind of looking at this where we almost got a little bit of a double top here. Measured move wouldn't be quite as significant as the measured move out of this, and even this is slightly in excess of the measured move. Maybe. So let's say this was a rising channel or a bear flag. Again, you're 18.4, 18.5. If it ends up being a double top, the depth is a little bit lower, somewhere in the 16.7-ish range. Either way, you got some downside targets into the 16s for sure, assuming it loses this. Now, what I'd like to see in the more ideal scenario, I guess the end result is going to be the same potentially, but see it hold this for a bit and maybe start to put in, fill in this section right here. Then we could actually start to imagine some upside coming back out of this, and then we can start talking about our $24,000 move based off of this move from down here. As of right now, we do have a higher low, so part of this is just making sure we don't fall below this line here. This 19.4 is going to act as a bit of a line in the sand. And even that's slightly off. Let's actually say we could probably move that down just ever so slightly. Maybe more like in that range. So this, at that point, this like $19,000 level, 19.1, that's going to be a big deal. Got to maintain that. We can come out of this pattern and we can tap down here, and then we just basically would need a double bottom, bust back into the pattern, and then start working our way back up. So those are the things we'll be on the lookout for sure. And you can see here, even right now, Bitcoin is at least putting together some positive movement. So, there's some feasibility. It holds on to this bottom. It's just not looking like it's massively likely. At least over here, once we burst above it, we came down, kind of retested it for support, and then found a way to get right back above it. As far as the 21 on the daily chart goes, this thing though, I mean, we lost it yesterday and then dropped subsequently about $1,000 more. So another a couple percent, 5% or so. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at the moment. Again, Hold this, we can start talking upside, start to lose this, and we're looking down here in the 16s. So, obviously a huge disparity there between the 16s and the 24 range. But we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead. Let's get out of here. Let's see. All right, so there was our daily. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's zoom in on the 4 hour real quick. So the interesting thing here, and I figured this would probably hold up at least temporarily, which it is. 4 hour oversold right into resistance. I'm gonna expect that this thing rolls back over. I mean, you got the 21 crossing the 50 here on the 4 hour. That's probably gonna lead to some sell pressure. It could pop up here again. I think that's feasible. You could see it pop up here in this 20,300-ish range. At that point, though, and even let's say it even pops up all the way to here, if it doesn't break that downward trend line, then again the reality is it's simply rolling back over here. But that would put it back above this trend line, which is the important one. That we need this to be a fake out. If we get back above this and it actually holds it, you're long there, because by the time when this thing acts as a fake out, if it pops way up here, holds this as support, that means that we're ready to rip roar to the upside. So we'll see which way this thing goes. Again, cup handle. This is basically what you'd expect a handle to look like. It just needs to find support at a higher level than the last time, which really it got all the way down here and here. We still haven't tested the 786 yet, which I had mentioned last week. But if we can hold where the 702 is, in fact, the lowest negative retracement or reverse retracement, great, because that means that this now could hold up. Now this one could hold up as support, which would be beautiful, right? We would like that. Get back over here, find support outside of this, and then burst out of there. Just not a given, right? It's by no means a given. But that's the 4 hour look. Now let's take a look here on the hourly. It's building a small uptrend. Not a big one, but this is a decent move. Again, you got to break it back above 20,000. That's all it comes down to. You can see here again. I've got my trend lines pretty well matched up on my charts. Again, here's your bear pennant look right there. We're back inside of that. Again, the reality is we should probably just expect that this is going to be resistance. This thing probably just going to roll right back over, maybe attack this level. And again, if this one then holds up, again, we could look at upside again. And again, based on the other chart, would love to see this hold up. Just don't know that that's really a given. But basically, the short version is that it has to find support at or above this level right here in order to work this out realistically as a cup and handle. This would have been ideal. This has to be the final one. And then if we get something like a cup and then this ends up being kind of straight down practically and then a straight up recovery, we could possibly get an Adam and Eve double bottom here to negate the potential double top that we're staring in the face. So we've got a few things that could go our way, and again, it's just a matter of looking at certain price levels. I mean, we'll see. I mean, this thing, you can see here over the last few days, the amount of effort on the hourly chart that the bulls are trying to put into getting this thing back up. Broke out of this kind of downtrend a few times. This might actually be, if we call this a falling wedge, that could actually be the double tapped back test of it. This could actually result in something. We'll see. I think that, right here we're going to see some resistance. So, maybe we look somewhere in the 19.8 range for some support, and then we can make our move to the upside. But again, depending on how you want to look at it here, then the question becomes, do we even get back above this level, let alone this level? And then that turns it into a potential head and shoulder look. So we've got a few things that could play out here, just a matter of which it's going to be. Again, nothing here looks great, right? I mean, daily looks like trash. Hourly 4 hour don't look great. They're sitting right below overhead resistance. at about that $20,000 level. Let's get in on the shortest term time frames and just kind of see, and even here, I could say that this looks like something of a, maybe we'll call that, and this isn't going to match up beautifully here, but I mean, this could even be something of a rising wedge or, channel. This one could be a bit of a rising wedge and kind of running out of upside push right now. And then we kind of look, does it stop here and hold support? Does it come back here and hold support? And again, then you're just looking at which downside levels would be logical to see for continued upside. Now, the reason that I think that there could be some upside in our future today, aside from what we're already seeing from here up, is the simple fact that we're kind of really since, goodness, it's been 3 days at this point in this downtrend here. And this is kind of looking a little bit like a descending broadening wedge. Now, granted, with this particular line acting as pretty strong resistance, but nonetheless, I mean, you kind of got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got multiple touches on short-term time frames, a lot of touches. And then even on the hourly, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th touch down there. So I think it's feasible that this thing could end up being a bit of a descending broadening wedge. And then, that hourly crash pattern is starting to wrap up. I mean, it's got 2 more crosses, but these are not the strongest ones typically. But if they play out, it is going to push the price action down further. And that's, again, where we're going to be looking at this 18,768 level, maybe even 18,267. Those are going to be the numbers we're going to be looking for downside, like we talked about. But the potential upside would be that we come out of here. Say we come back, we retest this 19.8-ish range, and then that would give us kind of a small inverse head and shoulders. Well, then all of a sudden you're kind of looking at, all right, well, now we've got a chance to come up here at least, gets us right about to 20,500. If that is actually a breakout of this descending pattern here, then all of a sudden we could potentially be looking, and let's just use this area right here, then you're looking at almost 21,000 potentially. But again, probably still flip this into resistance here on the hourly. And the 200 is right around 20,700. So, just kind of looking at this logically here. And it may not happen today, but I'd say for now that would be our upside target potentially. Maybe, again, here to here. Downside target, we're looking here or here. And that's really what I'm going to be looking for today. And then from there we decide, is it then going to recover on the daily to resume or restart an uptrend really. It would resume this uptrend, restart an uptrend, breaking this downtrend. But I think, we're probably I think that realistically we're going to see some sideways chop here for just a little bit before it makes it decide which way it's going to break. We do have some news from the Feds coming out here today. This month we're gonna have a few things going on. So we're gonna be, probably gonna get a pretty decent sense for the market here real soon. Inflation numbers are coming out. So that should kind of help to dictate a few things. Again, this looks an awful lot like a double top, and then you got this one here. This is some ugly bearish divergence right here because again, these are fairly equal levels in terms of where they closed, but this high is much higher. In a downtrend, that's hidden bearish divergence, and that's an ugly one there. So, even if it's just bearish divergence, it's still an ugly one. That's a significant disparity between those two levels. Same thing here too, really. I mean, you had this high produced there, and then this high produced here, and this one was much higher, whereas in fact they're pretty equal. So, yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to believe that the downside targets will probably be the ones that get hit, and we'll initially we'll start looking for that 18.7, 18.2 range. But don't be surprised if we do in fact come back up here and maybe get as high as this level, and even sometimes what you'll see is, especially if there is going to be a reversal, think about what happened over here, something that I wasn't prepared for really, and I said, Well, it was this one that this one came down, and that morning I was like, let's see, and then got bought up. I thought it would come right back down, and instead goes up. But this could be if we start getting something like this where you get this real hard pushback to the upside, that's basically to help break all these sellers out right here, right? Like a move above that would help to get them on their toes, and establish a potential for the bulls to push the price up again. But it all starts with first holding this guy here and then getting a push up to the other direction. So we'll see how it works out. But again, downside targets today, I'm thinking realistically in this range right here. Downside, upside up here, and we go from there. All right. As always, we appreciate you. Certainly look forward to catching up again here very soon. About 24 hours from now, in fact. And we'll keep finding the gains out there, whether it's red or green on the day. All right, we appreciate you.